When Ming-Shi heard this, he was overjoyed. He quickly said, "All you need to do is ask, Master." Zhou asked, "Do you know the leader of the Black Knights, Fan Xiuan?" "Not really. He seems to come from a family of officials. He doesn't have much to do with the cultivation world. Inform him that I want to meet him." Zhou's voice was light. "Understood." Ming-Shi accepted the order reverently. He seemed to be reinvigorated. "I like this. There's nothing better than a simple mission like this." He descended the mountain like an arrow that had been shot out. As soon as Ming-Shi left, Little Yuan saw a messenger bird above the evil sky pavilion. "A letter!" Little Yuan waved. The messenger bird dropped the letter and disappeared with amazing speed. Little Yuan cried out, "Master, it's another letter from Jiang Aijin." "Read it." Little Yuan began to read. "I'm sorry, I ran out of paper. Anyway, Fan Xiuan's actual name is Lung Luo. He's known as the Grim Yama. He was ranked on the top of the blacklist 300 years ago. Old Senior, I think you know this person better than I do, so there's no need for me to elaborate." Little Yuan clicked her tongue. She crumpled the paper scornfully, and it turned to dust in her fist. She scratched her head in confusion when she recalled the content of Jiang Aijin's second letter. She was not even 16 years old. There was no way she was familiar with someone from 300 years ago. However, if that person had lived so long before becoming the leader of the Black Knights, his cultivation base had to be quite profound. Lung Luo. Suddenly, memories of this person surfaced in Zhou's mind. "It's him." "Master, who's this person? We can't trust Jiang Aijin's words." Zhou shook his head. These matters did not conflict with Jiang Aijin's interests. There was no reason for Jiang Aijin to lie. Where's old Fourth now? With Fourth Senior Brother's speed, he should have gone beyond the barrier by now. Zhou stroked his beard as he shook his head slightly. Lung Luo was 200 years younger than Ji Tiandao. However, 300 years ago, Lung Luo was a great villain who committed every evil act imaginable. He was notorious for his cunning in the cultivation world. He burned, killed, robbed, and looted everywhere he went while humiliating others. However, this person usually operated alone and never worked with anyone else. He had committed many evil deeds on his own. He managed to escape with his life intact even though thousands of cultivators had gone against him. This earned him the top spot on the blacklist. Ji Tiandao had fought this person to a draw previously. Although Ji Tiandao was older than Lung Luo, at that time he had not reached the peak of his power yet. After he had reached the pinnacle of power, Ji Tiandao began accepting disciples with a vengeance. The name of Golden Court Mountain's Evil Sky Pavilion shocked and resounded in the world. Soon after, Ji Tiandao rose to the top of the blacklist. It was at that time that Lung Luo seemed to have vanished without a trace. In this world, only accomplished cultivators were able to live for more than 300 years. It was only natural that the younger generation had never heard of Lung Luo. 300 years ago, this person was at the nascent divinity tribulation realm, with a 6-leaf golden lotus 100 tribulations inside avatar. Now that 300 years had passed, what was his cultivation base like? Even if he made no progress over the centuries, he was certainly stronger than Ming-Shi, who had just recently attained his 100 tribulations inside avatar. He was not someone Ming-Shi could defeat. Zhou said solemnly, "Send word to Old Fourth. That man is extremely dangerous. Tell him to be careful." "Extremely dangerous?" When Little Yuan heard this, she blinked and asked, "Master, should we summon Fourth Senior Brother back?" Zhou shook his head and said, "There's no need for that. Ming-Shi was a nascent divinity tribulation realm expert. After all, after spending so many years being tormented by Ji Tiandao, he now had the character of a loach. When the Righteous Sect and Heavenly Sword Sect elites besieged Golden Court Mountain previously, even Zhou's third disciple, Duanmu Sheng, was captured. However, Ming-Shi managed to stay free. Moreover, all he was supposed to do was pass on a message to Lung Luo. Even if there was a trap laid out, it would be difficult for people to capture a disciple like Ming-Shi. If Zhou did not have item cards, He would not even be able to control Mingshi Yin. Zhou thought to himself, Lung Luo might have attained a 7-leaf or even an 8-leaf avatar by now. However, any higher than that, I'm afraid it's very unlikely. He was quite concerned about the skills and hidden tricks that Lung Luo, or as he was currently known, Fang Xiuwen, had gained after 300 years. A day later, in the eastern capital that was also known as Upper Prime City, a troop of mounted soldiers in black armor and dark masks rode their huge stallions along the street. The commoners scattered to the side, making way for the troops. They did not dare to get in the way of the troops. Some of the cultivators would glance at them from a distance before going about their own businesses. Nobody dared to offend these black people on mounts. The soldiers stopped at Upper Prime City's gates. At the front of the troop, 3 mounted black knights were at the lead. They were clearly different from the others. These 3 men were rumored to be among 4 of the most powerful black knights. Collectively, they were known as the 4 Dark Knights. They each had their specialized talent and had a profound cultivation base. Nobody knew the extent of their strength. The first Black Knight asked, "How long is Old Third going to take?" Old Third's archery is peerless under the heavens. Any target that's unfortunate to fall into his radar will definitely die. It shouldn't be difficult for him to kill the traitor of the Upper Prime City. Our mission in the Upper Prime City can be considered as completed. The 4 of us should drink to our heart's content when we return to the divine capital. I hope the leader will be satisfied. At this moment, they heard the sound of whistling from a sailing arrow. Whoosh! With a loud thud, the arrow embedded itself in the city's gates. A human head was attached to the arrow. The 3 black knights did not seem surprised or frightened. They only nodded in satisfaction, as expected of Old Third. His archery is truly peerless under the heavens. The black knights looked toward the end of the street. A black knight was speeding toward them with a bow and a quiver of arrows on his back. This was the Black Knight, one of the 4 Dark Knights, who was most skilled in archery. The leader of the 4 Dark Knights spoke in a deep voice. "Report back to the divine capital." Understood. The Black Knights paraded majestically out of the city gates. Hooves thundered on the road, kicking up clouds of dust as the Black Knight sped toward the divine capital. When the troop passed a forest, a peal of cunning and strange laughter resounded in their ears. Nay, the leader of the 4 Dark Knights immediately pulled on the reins of his steed before he raised a hand. The Black Knights were well trained. They quickly stopped in their tracks. They were well synchronized as well. When they heard the laughter, Old Third, the one who was skilled with bow, immediately leaped into the air. He knocked an arrow and looked around his surroundings. If he could see the target, this arrow would send the person to meet his maker. However, even after the laughter faded away, nobody appeared. Who dare block our way? The leader of the Black Knights said in a deep voice, for some unknown reason, they were slightly unnerved by this peculiar laughter, even though they were used to operating in darkness and tainting their hands with the blood of others. The laughter rang in the air again. Old Third, Roger, looked for the target from the direction of his laughter. Twang! Old Third of the 4 Dark Knights sent his arrow flying through the air in the direction of the laughter, flying into the dense foliage before disappearing. The feathered arrow was shrouded with primal chi. There was no sound at all. Did you get him? This question was directed at the archer, Old Third. Only users of the bow would know if the arrow had hit its target. Old Third had a slight frown on his face. He fell silent for a moment before he finally replied, "No." An elite could tell by their instincts. This person must be a nascent divinity tribulation realm elite. The Black Knights behind the 4 Dark Knights shuffled around to shift formations. The laughter rang in the air again. This time, it was accompanied by a mocking statement. "Nice shot." A Black Knight shouted, "Who's there?" The voice rang in the air. "I'm a disciple of Golden Court Mountain's Evil Sky Pavilion. Where's the leader of the Black Knights, Fan Xiuwen?" The 4 Dark Knights exchanged glances. Although they were wearing masks, they could feel each other's astonishment. There was not a single soul under the heavens who did not know about the Evil Sky Pavilion. So, it's a friend from the Evil Sky Pavilion. Upon hearing this, the person laughed before he said derisively, "Friend?" The voice seemed to come from all directions. The trees and the surroundings began to move as well. "Where is Fan Shouwen?" This voice belonged to Mingshi Yin, the Evil Sky Pavilion's fourth disciple. Mingshi Yin was not only intelligent, but he was exceptionally cunning. This was a forest. This place was advantageous to his Bluewood Heart technique. Even a nascent divinity tribulation realm cultivator with a six-leaf avatar might not be able to capture him. In this place, he was king. The leader is in the divine capital. What business do you have with him? Mingshi Yin was displeased. He had made many inquiries before he finally found out the Black Knights were on a mission in the eastern capital. He had waited here the entire day, certain that the Black Knight would pass by. He thought to himself, I waited the entire day for the 4 Dark Knights and a bunch of small fries. Listen up. I'll give you 3 days. The Evil Sky Pavilion wants to meet Fan Shouwen. If he doesn't show up, your fates will be the same as this tree. A towering tree suddenly snapped and fell, crashing toward the Black Knights. The Black Knights were elite troops. They quickly retreated and dispersed. The 4 Dark Knights wrapped themselves with energy. Bang! The huge tree fell with a loud crash before the Black Knights before it shattered. The Black Knight in the lead looked up before he gave the archer, Old Third, who was still hovering in the air, a meaningful look. Old Third landed on his steed. I shall convey your message. After that, the troop of Black Knights hurried along the small path toward the divine capital. Shortly after, peace and quiet returned to the forest. Mingshi Yin walked out from behind a huge tree. He looked at the leaving Black Knights with interest. Since 4 of them are so strong, it's impossible for Fan Shouwen to be weak. Oh, Master, who are you trying to provoke this time? The 4 Dark Knights' cultivation bases were almost at the nascent divinity tribulation realm, while the remaining Black Knights' cultivation bases were at the divine court realm. Without considering the great and second disciple of the Evil Sky Pavilion, these Black Knights could have fought on par with the Evil Sky Pavilion. There was no way that a person who commanded these people was a nobody in the cultivation world. Mingshi Yin's curiosity was piqued. He wondered aloud, Fan Shouwen, who are you? He tapped the ground with a foot and flew up to the trees with the agility of a swallow. His Bluewood Heart technique was at its full potential in a forest. He moved with lightning speed before he seemed to vanish without a trace. When the Black Knights arrived in the divine capital, they did not go into the city immediately. Instead, they skirted around the capital and continued north. The Imperial Guards guarded the capital. The Black Knights were a covert group and only operated in the shadows. Their existence was not publicly acknowledged. Naturally, their base was not located in the capital. Only a handful of people knew of the location of their base. At the foot of a hill, the Black Knights' headquarters. The 4 Dark Knights entered a hall at the same time. My lord, we've completed our mission. The Upper Prime City's traitor has been eliminated by the Black Knights. 4 of them kneeled on the ground and cupped their hands together. A long brown and empty table stood before them. Next to the table, a tall and muscular man dressed in black armor stood with his back facing them. Very good. The voice was hoarse and deep. My lord, I have another report. Speak. We encountered a villain from the Evil Sky Pavilion on our way back. The Evil Sky Pavilion has a message for you. The 4 Dark Knights exchanged glances. Their leader paused for a moment before he said, The Evil Sky Pavilion wants to meet you. They've given us 3 days. He had softened Mingshi Yin's words out of fear of angering his leader. Fan Shouwen was not angry. Instead, he turned around slowly and walked toward the table before gracefully taking a seat. He wore a mask as well. Even his face was completely covered. No one knew what he looked like. After a moment's silence, Fan Shouwen chuckled before he said in his deep voice, This is a tribulation that I must face in my lifetime. My lord, the Evil Sky Pavilion is notorious in the cultivation world. It has produced 9 great villains over the centuries whose names shocked the lands. The Patriarch of the Fiend Path, Ji Tiandao, possesses an unfathomable cultivation base. My lord, I suggest that we avoid the Evil Sky Pavilion. Fan Shouwen raised a hand slowly and said, I've received an order from the palace. The Evil Sky Pavilion has meddled in the palace's plans. The four Dark Knights were stunned by Fan Xiuwen's words, their mask hiding their shocked expressions. My lord, are we making an enemy out of the Evil Sky Pavilion? Fan Xiuwen shook his head and spoke in his raspy voice. The Evil Sky Pavilion is indeed terrifying. We have no idea about the cultivation bases of its 9 disciples. Rumor has it that Ji Tiandao possesses an 8-leaf golden lotus avatar. It's not surprising for him to be able to repel the 10 great elites. Fan Xiuwen's four subordinates lowered their heads and listened quietly. After muttering to himself for some time, Fan Xiuwen placed his hands behind his back and said, I have no intention of making the Evil Sky Pavilion an enemy. It's only natural that we should avoid making an enemy out of such powerful people. The four Dark Knights felt relieved inwardly. They were worried their leader would be overconfident. Although the Black Knights were powerful, if they were to butt heads with Ji Tiandao, both sides would surely sustain great losses. After all, there was no need for them to be impatient. When Ji Tiandao's time was up, they would be able to easily destroy the Evil Sky Pavilion. However, when Fan Xiuwen spoke again, his words seemed to have taken a sharp turn. However, since the palace has issued an order, we must obey the order. Since the Evil Sky Pavilion wants to see me, I'll go see them.